Hello, everyone, to my beautiful audience. My name is Taslim Jasani, and I'm the owner and founder of Rubik's Coaching. And I have a really fun, special surprise for all of you today. I have the lovely Jennifer Kolbuc from Mountaintop Consulting, and she has volunteered her time to give us a little bit of information on how you can get started with starting like an Instagram account. I know for a lot of you entrepreneurs, getting your social media going and your following going is quite daunting. And even for myself, I know that I don't have an Instagram account right now for Rubik's Coaching. And so I'm super excited to hear a little bit from Jen today. Hi, Jen. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. No, I'm excited to be here. And apologies, I'm just getting over a bit of a cold, so apologies if I sound a bit rough on our call here this morning.
No problem. You sound great. So, Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, so Mountaintop Consulting, and basically I work with kind of small and medium-sized businesses who are looking to either, like yourself, maybe start from scratch, starting Instagram or starting social media, or maybe businesses who already have social media, but they know they're not really, kind of optimizing it for their best use, and they're really hoping to learn more. And so I kind of offer help in a few different areas. So sometimes that's just workshops in terms of, giving the business owners the tools and resources to get off the ground, all the way to complete social media management, where a company is ready to kind of hand off that social media piece and have somebody else manage it on their behalf and help them grow their accounts that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a really great option to have because social media in itself is so daunting, right? And I know that Jen holds some really great workshops over at Coworks in Poco. And so we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But I'd love for you to tell our audience afterwards a little bit about your classes that you offer and some ways that they can get in touch with you. So
Absolutely.
for someone like me, for example, who I'm just sitting here like, okay, if I want to start an Instagram account and it's for Rubik's Coaching, what do I post? I mean, out there's just so much beautiful visual stuff. How do I get started? How do I decide what to post?
So that's a really good question. Often it can feel really overwhelming to kind of just start. So the first thing I always say is just, start where you are. The first post, sometimes you have to rip it off like a Band-Aid and just put it out there. And I promise after the first one gets out, it does get a little bit easier. In terms of what to actually post about, often a really good starting place is like if you have an FAQ section on your website. So these are the commonly asked questions that people are asking you about how do I purchase your product or service? How do I work with you? What does working with you look like? What does that product look like, or can I get a sample? What does a coaching call, what does that entail? And really trying to use social media to answer some of those questions right out of the gate for your clients and your fans. Other great content to think about, of course, is if you're a small business owner like yourself, or you're, the face of your brand, of course, posting, lovely photos of yourself and telling people about yourself and why you're so passionate about doing what you're doing is also really important. When people are purchasing that product or service, they're really purchasing, you in a way. And so the more we can kind of open up and share our story on social media and kind of show off our authentic selves is really going to best connect with our audiences.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because I do see that out there where people will not just be posting about their business, but just about their life and their friends or their, just their day to day. So that makes a lot of sense. And so if I'm starting out and I'm doing this, how often should I be posting?
Another great question I get asked all the time. So really I say kind of, consistency is really key. And so really trying to pick a, number of times a week that you feel that you can show up. So, in a perfect world, I'd say post 5 to 6 days a week. Now they may not be attainable where you are at your business today, and that's totally fine. So I say try to aim for like 4 days a week so that we're trying to, continually show up, but then really be committed to showing up 4 days a week. That's really, the other half of the game. It's better to show up 4 days a week every week than to one week show up 7 days a week and then not post anything for another week. And so some of the ways you can do that I really recommend is, using what I call a content calendar. And that can be, a literal calendar in your day planner or a Google spreadsheet where you have a calendar to really try and map out your content just a little bit ahead of time so that you're not just sitting down on a Monday morning going like, well, what should I post about today? And trying to come up with content on the spot. The more we can, just plan it out a little bit ahead of time, it's really going to set you up for success. And then the second half of that is using a scheduling tool. So a scheduling tool could be something like there's a program called Later, Buffer, Hootsuite is a scheduling tool. All of them come with free options, which of course is great if you're a small business owner. And that really forces you to, again, plan your content, schedule it out, and that way you're not sitting there on your phone with your thumbs trying to type out captions every single day, which of course takes up a lot of time, and then we often just don't get around to it. So if you're able to kind of, sit down once a week, perhaps on like a Sunday evening, look at your week ahead, plan out a few posts, write out those captions, and then schedule them, you'll be set up for much longer term success.
That's really great advice. It's something that I didn't think about, but now as you're speaking about it, it makes sense because I think we have this misconception that social media should just, especially Instagram, needs to be just inspired. Like we are inspired by something today and we'll post. But you're right. I mean, with all the stuff we have to do as business owners, I mean, the time, like using Buffer is one thing that I use for sure. It's a scheduling tool. But I really like the idea of the social calendar or the social media calendar as well. So thank you. That's really great advice. So then I know a huge burning question is, how do I grow my following on Instagram?
Yes. So the first step, like we said, is, posting great content. The second step is showing up consistently. And the third step then is kind of using some of the tools and resources available to us. So that could be hashtags, of course, are always a big topic. So looking around and making sure you're utilizing hashtags correctly. So, if you're a physical based business or service offering, do you have location hashtags? Are you using hashtags that are relevant for your niche? And often we can look at kind of other products or services that our competitors are offering to kind of get a sense of that. Are we using hashtags that are kind of too broad, that just get millions and millions of views that aren't really kind of tailored to what we want to be offering? Another thing to think about is using that location field. So again, if you are a location-based product or service, making sure we always add a location to our posts. And then the third thing, of course, is thinking about tagging, who we can tag in our posts, so other relevant brands or services. And one thing, if you haven't started using Instagram stories yet for your business, I cannot recommend that enough. We see so much more content moving to stories these days. And I think the Instagram feed, while still important, I feel like the Instagram stories is kind of where people are looking for that next sense of inspiration, because Instagram stories is a little bit more in the moment. The way Instagram once was, Instagram stories is now a little bit more of that, inspired moment, if you will. And so people especially are looking to kind of brands and services about what kind of fun or timely Instagram stories they can be sharing. So if you haven't started dabbling in Instagram stories, definitely try it out, sooner than later, to see how that might attract new people to, your Instagram page. But the final way we really need to think about, which I think a lot of brands, it's easy to overlook, is really taking the time to communicate on other people's pages. We're all about this, like, come to my posts and like me and comment on, the great content I'm putting out. But we really have to be part of that community. It really is a two-way dialogue. And so the more time we can spend, making relationships on social media and commenting and liking and engaging on other people's content and putting out that goodwill, we're really going to see that reflected back on our own posts and our feed.
Such an excellent comment, because as we do that, we then, exponentially create exposure, not only to us, but to those around us. So that's really great. And for myself, I feel like even just these few questions start to make me feel a lot more comfortable with how I could get started on Instagram. So I really appreciate you taking the time to answer some of these few questions. Is there anything else that you want to say to our audience today about, starting an Instagram social media account? Anything further?
Yeah, I think, just begin is kind of my message. I think a lot of us hold back on waiting for that perfect moment or that perfect post. It's better to just start posting and figure out that message and figure out those hashtags as you go, than to be so scared of posting that we never put any content out there. Nobody's first post was, perfect, or whatever that looked like for them today. And so sometimes it's just getting over the fear of putting yourself out there. And maybe that's your first post. Maybe it's your first Instagram story. Maybe it's the first time you've done a video about yourself. Nobody's first video was perfect, but you only get better at doing it by doing more. So whatever you haven't started yet for 2020, try and put something like that on a goal for you to achieve.
Okay, so Jen, how can our viewers today get in touch with you if they want to have a further conversation about what you talked about today?
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear from you. So first of all, you can check me out on Instagram at Mountain Talk Consulting, where I share more tips every day. So if you're looking for, kind of just some more tips to kick off your Instagram account, find me over there. And if you're looking to take the conversation further, then head over to my website at Mountaintop Consulting, or of course you can send me an email anytime, and that's info@mountaintopconsulting.ca.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for your time today. I'm going to include Jen's contact info in the comments to this video. So please check her out. She does some great classes. She'll do private coaching, and she will even get you together with a group of friends if you feel like there's a bunch of people who would find value in this. So I have loved hearing everything you have said today. Thank you so much. And I really encourage you guys, if you want some help with this, reach out, because the best thing you can do is just get some support instead of trying to fumble through it yourself.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me here again. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. And everybody have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Thank you.